Hey everyone! This is our first show of the year. So if you are currently live with us now, please let us know where you're watching us from. How's your day going? Hey everyone! We're just going to give it a couple minutes to make sure that people know that we're on live, and then we're sharing it to our personal page. So just give us a couple seconds while we get that started, and then we will start our show this year. Hello, Jampong. Thank you for tuning in. We always appreciate you supporting us, so thank you. If you are currently live with this now, please let us know where you're watching us from. We'd love to do some shout out. We're still kind of sharing them into our personal page and to some of the other groups that we're in, so it'll just be a couple minutes before we get started. How's everyone's day going? It's a nice Saturday here in Portland. It's not raining. The weather is beautiful. Kind of chilly, but for the most part, it's really nice out. We got some blue skies, so that's good. Though I do wish for some snow. I know we are lacking some of that here. Usually, by this time last year or the year before, we've had some snow, and so no snow yet, just a whole bunch of rain. So, looking forward to some of that. Sacramento in the house. Hi, Will. Good?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Chai. Okay, so obviously today on the show, we are going to be talking about how to set yourself up for success for the rest of 2021. And we have a good friend of ours. She's going to be coming on in just a little bit. But before we get started, obviously, as you can see, Callie and I are drinking some really tasteful tea that we got from our friend at Shilu Company and Tea. They focus on providing the best care, comfort, and clean products for women, especially Hmong moms. And so a lot of their tea are organic. They carry premium loose. I'm reading it because it's quite some awesome information. Loose leaf teas, and have a whole bunch of different variety that you can choose from. And Bao is actually the owner of Shilu Company and Tea, and she's super responsive. So if you guys have any questions about just teas in general, please reach out to them. There's a huge selection of teas that you can choose from. And today, Callie and I are drinking a specific one, but I'll let Callie kind of talk about her thoughts on the tea and what the tea consists of.
Yeah. So we did get two types of tea to try, but today we are drinking the ambrosia one. And so what's in this one is apricot tea, black currant, mango, rose hips, orange peel, cinnamon, and gooseberry. And so it's actually quite nice. It's not too sweet, but it's a nice. It's fragrant, it's light, and it's perfect for today, which is kind of cold today. So it's kind of the perfect season to have tea.
Yeah, and I was telling Callie, usually when I drink my tea, I like a Splenda or honey in there. But with this one, there's kind of a sweetness in it already, so I didn't need it, which I appreciate because it's like less time for me to put ingredients together. But yes, if you want some tea, reach out to her. They are new, and she has lots of variety again to choose from. So if you just have any questions about the benefits of tea and things like that, she's super responsive and love educating people. If you want to follow their page, you can find them on Facebook. It's Shilu Company and Tea. So excited for all of that. I'm excited to try the second batch of the tea as well. Yeah. I haven't tried the second one yet, so I'm excited for that one. Okay, Callie, do you want to introduce our guests and then we can get started on our show today?
Yeah, so of course it's a new year, and even though this new year has started quite dramatically, I'm still very, very hopeful for this year, and we are super excited to have our friend and also a coach who is going to help us just talk about how we set ourselves up for success this year, right? And so I think that having been through 2020 and COVID and knowing that we can't control the things that are around us, we can't control our external environment, I think there's still a lot of things that we can control to really help us this year. And so a little bit about Yangi. Yangi is the founder and president of Faithful Consulting, and her experiences are in leadership training, team building, facilitation, goal planning, coaching, counseling, assessments, and management. And she has established the Project Leading Lady 2016, where she helps one woman a year become her best leader. And she also volunteers her time to coach and helps her community grow. And she also coaches some of our other friends. And so that's been really cool just to kind of hear their thoughts and things like that. And so I am going to bring her on. Hi, Yangi.
Welcome. How are you? Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Yeah. I didn't recognize. I thought I mute myself since I'm in the background. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see some of the comments and the people here. I know a lot of you, so
Always
it's good to be on here.
I think that's the good thing about like our community is they are super supportive. Like even if they, even if it's just like coming on a podcast or a show to talk about it, they're there to support you because they want to see be successful. So that's amazing.
How perfect, because that's one of the very reasons for getting to your goals is surrounding yourself with the right people. So
that's right. Yes.
Okay, so before we start, I would like to know how you usually work with clients on this, and then also like maybe you can share some of the stuff that you do for yourself too. I'm curious, what your method is to really, when you're preparing for 2021 and knowing what kind of climate we're in, how do you make sure that you are, your head's in the right place and that you're going to be able to achieve all the things that you set for yourself this year?
Yeah, so if it's for my clients, it really depends. If they're business owners, organizations, of course, it's going to be a lot more elaborate, a lot more detail. We're really coaching around different things. And so, and getting to those goals. So that's more elaborate. If it's an individual coaching client, then it might be very personable, but the biggest thing is to gain clarity on what that is. Oftentimes we don't really know what our goals are. So it's really defining what is our goals. What is our vision? We're gaining the clarity that we want. What is it at the end of the year? If we said we were to look back at the year and say, oh gosh, this was a successful year, what would that look like? So a lot of it is really defining what that goal is like. And then from there, you can really break down to strategies and action steps that you can take. So that's also what I do for myself is I have a 1-year business plan or 1-year strategic plan, however you want to say it. And I'm really looking at that year. What are my goals I'm trying to hit, whether it's financially, personally. I also do vision boarding. So a lot of everything is putting in front of me, what is it that I want for this year, and keeping that on top of mind.
So when you're thinking about, and I absolutely love that, because I actually kind of like, go from the beginning. I don't think about the end always. And so I thank you for sharing that. And so when I'm like thinking about, how I want my year to go. Now, how do I know what's like realistic and not realistic, right? Because sometimes I'm like, pie in the sky, like let's go all the way. And then sometimes it's like, but maybe I should just be like, I'm just gonna, run 10 minutes a day. Like what's reasonable, what's not reasonable?
Yeah, so that's a huge part of getting to your goals is really looking at life as well. A lot of people don't, so we might be jumping ahead, but a lot of people don't look at what are other variables that can happen. It's almost as if you set this goal and you think you're just going to hit it. You forget that, you got family, a spouse, possibly kids, other jobs or things like that. So you don't really plan. And that's what I do with my clients is we really break down those things. is it really a SMART goal, right? So SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time stamped. And really breaking that down from at the end of this year. So generally, I like to project 3-5 years out and then break that down to what's in 3 years, what's in 2 years, what's in 1 year.
I love those strategies, Yingy. I feel like it's very similar to like project management, which is where which is kind of like where my neck of the woods is. We utilize a lot of the same strategies to kind of get the outcome that we want. But I agree with you. I think sometimes people, kind of like what Callie's saying, is like they don't really think of like what the end would look like, especially if you're typically not in that mindset. You think about what I need to do now versus where, like, I say this and I use my weight as an example because I can never get that under control. But the times that I did lose a lot of weight, I was really my mentality was there, right? Like, I know that at the end of 6 weeks, my goal is to lose 20 pounds. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm committed to working out every day for at least 30 minutes. I'm committed to eating healthy. And you have to stay committed to those goals and those tasks that you've outlined for yourself in order to achieve what you are set out to achieve. And I think a lot of people, if they don't have that mindset or if they don't have that strategy in place that they're not familiar with, it's going to be really hard for you to hit that goal, whether that be a personal goal or, you know, something related to business. And I think even some businesses struggle, and that's why they have project managers and coaches and consultants to come in and help them achieve that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like, speaking of mindset, you know, because I always kind of look at COVID and what happened with that year and thinking I had set all these goals and I really had to pivot and say, okay, this year I'm just going to be a little bit more forgiving because things are a little bit different, right? I have this new landscape that I have to traverse through and nobody knows really what's going on. And, you know, like adapting to technology and Zoom and how we network nowadays. And so how do you, and especially the way that we started out this year, just this week, how do you keep that mindset going? I think that's what I struggle the most, is that, you know, some days I'm super motivated and then some days I just feel like, you know, like, what's the point of goals?
Yeah. So that's oftentimes you have a question, you know, where do people go wrong with setting themselves up for success? And that is where is we think that motivation, we rely on motivation. We're committed to motivation. We're thinking, oh gosh, I'm just going to lose all this weight. And we're thinking we're going to be motivated to do that, right? But motivation is like a feeling. It dies, right? Just like any other feeling, you have to keep motivation going. So you have to be committed. So be committed to the goal. So be committed to the vision and try to be disciplined and focus on the commitment. So whether you feel like it today or not, like I might not feel like it because my motivation might be somewhere else that day to do a workout, for example, since we're talking about some of that goal. I might not feel like it, but you have to be disciplined enough and committed enough to your goal that, oh, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to find, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to do it. So your goal should be a commitment, and that's where, and then your mindset, right? When you're going back to the mindset, it's because we all want to be motivated and it's not going to be. And we all think that it's going to be a breeze, but we have to accept, like last year, that things like that happens, like COVID happens, like obstacles are going to happen. But if we don't stay committed to our goals and we don't look at that, if it's not inspirational enough for us, then we lose sight of it. We can say, oh, oops, whatever about that, 20 pounds, or sometimes we're too soft then on ourselves too. So I think it's just going back to, am I committed to this? And am I disciplined enough to just do the work day in and out for it? I'm not focused on the motivation. I'm not focused on the things that will come. I expect it. You have to accept and expect that life will happen. And so because you already accept that, when obstacles come, it doesn't hit you harder. Like, oh my gosh, I ate this big meal. Like the weekend's going to come. Like we know every weekend comes and we're going to have gatherings and things like that. So, you just have to plan for life. Life happens. And so if you don't focus enough on the commitment and you focus on your motivation or other things that is going to drive you, like that, you're going to lose sight of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, that's like very profound, like for you to even say that life happens and you just do it and everything else will come. Because I think sometimes like with my own personal goals, it's so dictated on how motivated I am that day, and I think here in the Pacific Northwest, the weather is very hard.
It's not going to change. The weather is going to be
right.
It's gloomy. It's cloudy outside.
It plays a huge part. The weather plays a huge part in how we feel day in and day out. It changes quite often. And it's not like it changes from like good to bad. It's like from like cloudy to pouring down rain. And then it snows and it's beautiful. And then all of a sudden there's rain again. And then there's black ice. It's all over the place.
So I just love that. Yeah, like that's completely, because I have been thinking about that a lot of just like these things I want to do, and some of these things are goals from last year that I've just kind of said I'm not even gonna really go after it. And so I love what you're saying of just recognizing that these aren't surprises.
Yeah, and the other thing is knowing what your capacity is. Going back to what you said, Kali, is your capacity and resources. Oftentimes we think we can do like 10 million things, and we can't. We just can't. You're not really being realistic in terms of that. If it was the one goal, it's realistic, right? But you have to plan for, like I said, life, the other things that are into place. And it's really about sacrificing. If you really want this goal, you're going to have to sacrifice something. If you really want to lose weight, then maybe you sacrifice sleep because you're getting up at 5 a.m. and working out, because that's the only time in your day that would work, or in the evening or whatever. If it's that goal, going to my business. If it's your business, you just get up and you just do it every day. You have to be so committed to your goals that despite how you're feeling that day, you're taking one action steps towards that event. And so, that
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't really, I think when you make anything, it's so funny because a lot of the strategies you're talking about, like, it's so familiar to me because it's part of my work, but I've never really utilized it in my own, like from work to just personal, right? Like I think identifying your risks and being flexible with your plan, right? That when we do make up a goal, like it's important to think about some of the pain points that could possibly happen for us, and develop some sort of mitigation plan for those. And so it's just weird. I've never implemented that into my personal, which is crazy, because I do it for work day in and day out. But I've just never thought to say, let's just apply that to my own personal thing and kind of see how it goes. But you're right. I think when you're more aware and you plan for some of those hiccups, it doesn't hit you as hard. So I'm really glad that you brought that up and kind of put it in a perspective where people can apply those strategies to your personal goals. So then it softens the blow a little bit if you don't lose that 20 pounds, because you know that life happens and that's okay. You just got to refocus and, shift your mindset a tiny bit more. So I love that.
So is there anything else where you think people go wrong with setting themselves up, like with their goals?
Probably 80% of people don't even write it down.
Totally agree. I'm guilty. I am guilty of that. I think about my goal, and I think this is where I go wrong, Yangi. And I'm telling you, because it's like I do this for corporations to make them successful, but I don't even do it for myself. I don't write it down, and I don't write my action items. I don't write my tasks. I don't break it down enough. I don't look at risks that could possibly happen. So you're right. I think most of the people they don't write down their goals. And I'm guilty of that. I'm one of those people.
Yeah. You're just not prepared for it. And like I said, I think the biggest part, there was a research that came out, 42% of people who write down their goals cheat. Like that's how high it is. You have a 42% chance of achieving your goal just if you write it out.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So
And then
tip
also
number one.
looking at it.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm working, I feel like there's an echo now. Can you
I
guys
don't
hear
hear it. I don't hear anything.
Oh, okay, then I'll just keep continuing. But yeah, a big part of it is writing it down. Your action. Remember that the goal is the same, right? But your action steps, your strategies, those should be looked at consistently and reviewed. Like Olivia, you said, what are the metrics? How am I doing with this? Okay, I know I wanted to hit a financial goal of whatever, 10K a month. Okay, what happened here? Am I doing what it takes to make that? So not only are you looking at what is it, okay, what would feel really great, or what would that goal look like for me at the end of the year? You break that down to then that month, right? And then that week, and then that day. And you're really writing all that stuff down and you're reviewing it regularly. There's also no point if you write it all down and you never look at it. So the other thing is also looking at it and saying, okay, assessing and being really honest. Sometimes we're not honest with ourselves about where we are. But I think when you get to a point where you're just really honest with yourself, you call yourself out when you do things that aren't in line with your truth. And it teaches you to be committed to yourself. And it teaches you can trust yourself if you follow through with your plan. But if you don't follow through with your plan, you're teaching yourself you can't even trust yourself. And so then it kind of like perpetuates to that self-fulfilling prophecy of, clearly, if I think I'm not going to achieve it, then I'm probably not going to achieve it. It's that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one of the things that I feel like is so crucial for like achieving my goals is accountability. And so, of course, when people are coming to you, they have you, I think, part as an accountability partner too. And so can you speak a little bit about, having accountability and how do you implement that, especially maybe if you're, I tend to, freely share my goals, but I know some people don't like to voice those. And so how do those people still hold themselves accountable without necessarily having a partner that they're telling?
Well, it goes back to just reviewing it, holding yourself accountable, trusting yourself, being true to yourself, being honest, reflecting back on, okay, what happened here that I didn't do well. So if you can objectively be in a space where you can do that, that's great. The biggest thing is get people around you. That's the best thing. Get people who will help you, get people who will be honest with you, get people that it's going to be in your team. We may think that we get to places on the goal might be very personal to us, but we don't get anywhere without a team. I wouldn't be where I'm at without, like you guys or other people, right? You just are not going to be able to go further if you don't know how to also rely on other people. So I think accountability is, again, going back to that really strong mindset. You have to have a really strong mindset and practice and work on your resilience, I'd say, right? Because then that builds that component and you can really be honest with yourself. But the other part is really surround yourself with a team of people that can help you be accountable. When you're accountable to yourself too, it's that honesty. You can kind of look at it and then make adaptations and move forward. But I'd say both. If you don't have someone, find someone. If you don't have someone and you want to feel like you rely on yourself, you can, but it's going to be a lot harder. So learn to ask for help and learn to surround yourself with people that are trying to head to where you want to go.
Yeah. I think that kind of brings me to like our next question is like, besides finding somebody for accountability, I know that at least for me and what I've seen in our community is people are afraid to ask for mentors and people who can sponsor you, or coaches even. Like I feel like the coaching is still very new to the Hmong community. In your opinion, like how critical is it to have mentors and sponsors and possibly even coaches, even whether that's for your personal growth or your career?
Yeah, I think it's just so important. So important. We all have blind spots,
Mhm.
and we all get to a point where we need someone to kind of take us out of the mud.
Yeah.
Wherever we're at our goal, if we're not achieving our weight, if we're not achieving our business goal, if we're not achieving any kind of goal we have, we need someone to kind of help us get above the mud to see what's happening and to really assess. And so having a coach, a sponsor, or a mentor, there are three different things. Okay. So a coach,
They are.
a coach you have to pay for. It's a person you pay for to really help you explore what that is. And they're not only going to be your mentor, they're not only going to be your biggest supporter, but they're going to hold that space for you to really be honest and explore all your goals, whatever it is, and really help you brainstorm and take action. I think that's really important. Coaching is really about that forward action movement. So as coaches, we really hold spaces for our clients to say, okay, here's where we're going to go. Okay, then we're holding the accountability, for our clients as well, as they should be holding the accountability for themselves to achieve that. And then we're coaching around why didn't that happen? And how could we better plan? So that's coaching. And if you want to coach, you're going to have to pay for a coach. So many people have coaches, whether it's executives, leaders, life, whatever. And it's so important.
And I think people have to see that too as an investment in yourself. Because I think the mentality is still not quite there where they're like, why am I paying for someone to tell me what to do when I already know how to do it? Kind of, they think they know how, right? But I think a lot of it is like investment in yourself, because part of the coach's role too, I think, is providing different strategies and tools that they can kind of help you identify. Because like we were saying before, most of the people don't even write down their goals. So how can you achieve them, right? And then once you write it down, how can you accomplish that? How do you break that down? A lot of them don't have that type of tool in their toolbox to kind of help identify those. And so I think that's part of what coaching is too, is not just to like hold you accountable and be your mentor as well, but to provide you with the tools you need in order to be successful.
Yeah. And we're looking at capacity and also, is this really a realistic goal? Things like that. So so that's coaching. Then sponsor is usually a person of influence in a company that you work for, or you want are in, I guess, that could help you get to that next position, that would put in a word for you to say, yes, I believe Yang Yi would be a great CEO, and I really want to support her. She's where she's at now. Let's really support her grow. And that person has a level of influence, so they're usually within your company. And I see this a lot in corporate America, is they have sponsorships, and that's how a lot of leaders move up in ranks, is they have a sponsor. They have a person of influential in the company that is willing to back them up and say, hey, I know this person is talented. Let's get them up to that leadership level. And then, of course, with the sponsor, if you have a sponsor, you want to prove yourself that you can be a person of your word. You can be a person of that talent that your sponsor is saying that you are. And then you have the mentor, as you mentioned.
Can I ask a quick question on the sponsor? So is that, when you see that, is that formalized or is it usually informal?
Sometimes they have some formal processes depending on your organization. But sometimes it's really, you got to kind of go out and seek it.
Mhm.
Sometimes people are not going to know what your capabilities are. Remember, this person's of influential. So depending on your level of leadership and where you're at in the company, you may not even have access to some of these people. And so sometimes it takes you taking that initiative to put yourself out there and ask for these things.
Callie, I can give you an example. So when I was applying for a position with Kaiser, I had gone to school with in my undergrad with an executive, and he, though he didn't know my like work history or my work ethic, he knows me as an individual with school, and I think some of my ethics can show there. But when I applied for this position and he was aware that I was doing it, he personally, as a sponsor, wrote my hiring manager an email and said, I vouch for Olivia. I think she'll be a great candidate because I know XYZ about her and she'll be great. And that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of what solidified my position. And so I think that's what a sponsor would do. They're not really mentors. They're people who see potential in you. And so they're willing to vouch for you. And sometimes sometimes you do have to seek for those people and build that relationship.
Gotcha. So, I mean, I guess if you're looking to move up, then you really do have to get a little bit uncomfortable, right? And try to put yourself in a place where you are making contact and they actually know your name and can develop a relationship, which I think is hard for us to do as like Ning Du Hao. I mean, Gucci Du Hao nationality. We think so. I've been lucky enough that I have been able to have some people like that. But I think that sometimes when you're starting out, it is a little bit scary to to get into those situations where you feel like there are people looking out for you because they see something in you.
Yeah.
So then the mentor.
Okay, well, I think we were at mentor.
Yeah, we're at mentor. The different ways you can utilize these individuals. The mentor is it doesn't have to be in your industry, but it's someone that you want to learn something from, right? They usually have some set of skills, some level of experience, something that you look up to, some kind of wisdom that you're seeking. And so that is so important. And those are people who are willing to kind of take you under their wing and teach you a craft or help, guide you kind of thing. So, and those are generally free. So these are two options where you can kind of really position yourself in a career very well that a lot of people don't know about is, once, and also you can get a mentor, and the mentor might know a sponsor that could then vouch for you as well. And so they can work as a team, but it's different ways for you to just advance in your career. Whereas maybe sometimes we don't have a lot of the opportunities if we don't know about this. I feel like oftentimes I know I didn't know about mentorship or sponsorship until I started working in my own business and working in corporate America and realizing, wow, that person got that VP position because he's being sponsored by this influential leader within the company, the board or whoever. And that's how that person got in. And so although you were an outsider interviewing, that person got it because he had a sponsor.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it goes back to like, sometimes it goes back to like, it's not about what you know, but who you know, unfortunately. Right. Cause I think sometimes like people who are just starting off where they're like, I had this mindset too, where I worked so hard and I did all of these things. But yet like, I didn't get the promotion that I needed or wanted. Right. And so then you start to get angry because you think it's these people, but I think really it is the sponsorship and the mentorship that is really going to help you like excel to the next level. And so I think, and I feel like in our mom community, sometimes we're a little I wouldn't say embarrassed, but I think like shy, maybe shy is a better word, to ask people to be our mentor, or to ask some of the more accomplished like Hmong folks to be our mentor or sponsors. And it's okay to do that. It doesn't mean that they'll say no. You just won't know if you don't ask, you know?
That's true. So question. Again, I know I keep coming back to this COVID thing, but that's our reality now, right? Working remotely. And so do either of you know like any way that people are being a little bit more creative with, finding time with mentors and sponsors? Because right now we're all working remotely, and I feel like sometimes out of sight, out of mind. And it makes it harder to establish those relationships. And so how does one go about trying to, either find mentors or find sponsors, or just feel like you're getting heard in the workplace?
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like easier. I feel like it's almost easier because you don't have to ask someone face to face. And if you're like nervous and you don't want to do that, um, I've always run my business from my own office. So this isn't anything new to me, but it's really a matter of asking whether it's someone from your company. I think it always makes it easier because it's like a message to the person, or, hey, can we set up some time to grab coffee? It really is as simple as that, as, not a, I want something from you, but what can I learn from you? Like, I think it's taking a different approach and perspective when you're approaching mentors or sponsors. I'm always learning. I'll message different CEOs, VPs on LinkedIn, and I'll just say, could we grab some coffee? Could we, talk to each other? I'm really interested in what your business is about. I'd love to learn more about you. Most people never turn me down, and they won't. They're there also, and they had to use similar strategies. You have to think about that. Like they probably had to use a lot of the similar strategies, and they're just as curious and wanting to know you as well. So I think it almost makes it easier. I don't know how many people have reached out to me personally and just said, hey, Yang Yi, could we grab coffee? I want to know about what you do. I wonder about this and this aspect of your business. And I'm always like, yes, go to my calendar, set up a 30-minute meeting, let's chat. So I think the creativity in it is probably the hardest part is just doing it. Mm-hmm. The easiest part is having the conversation and meeting with them. So yeah, I would say it to me, it almost seems easier because you're not having to nervously walk down a hallway and say to your CEO or your VP of this and that. And if it's really not in your personality, maybe just try someone within your department. Maybe you just try your supervisor. You don't have to go to someone that you feel really uncomfortable, but just take one step outside of your comfort zone. And the more you do that and get out of your comfort zone, the more you're going to feel better about doing it.
Yeah, I think some people look at China. Yeah, I'm in this group that I'm talking about, where I think sometimes like you're nervous, you're scared because maybe those are things that you've never really done before, and so I think if anything, like what you said, Ying, I think the hardest thing is to just do it, right? Yes. You have to find the courage to just hit send. And I think that's me sometimes, where I'm like, do I really want to talk to this person at this moment? Or is that really the reason? Or is it really because I'm so nervous of the outcome of that meeting? Because I'm thinking about all the possible outcomes versus just enjoy the conversation. And if something that leads to something, if it doesn't lead to anything, at least, you had built a connection somewhere,
And at the end of the day, this is what I think. They're either your people, they're not your people, and that's totally okay. Yeah. Like that is a choice. I get to make a choice. They have a choice as well. And so just reaching out, the worst that anyone can say is no. If that's like the worst, anyone say no, I don't want to meet with you. But I can tell you that if you say it in a way where I'm really interested in learning about your business. I'd love to hear more about what you have to do. A lot of people want to talk about themselves. So I've not had situations where people don't want to help. People really do want to. They might be limited in capacity or things like that, but I don't know how many opportunities, how many people I've networked, and it was intentionally my goal this past year that really has pivoted my business to where it is at this year. Yeah, in amazing ways.
Okay. I like that. I think you do just have to do it and not be afraid of the outcome because you don't even know what it is. Right. Like, I think the intention of like you wanting to connect because you want to learn a different skill set that they have should be a good enough reason to just have a conversation on that. So I like that.
Yeah, and it's not like a sales, it's not like you're selling something. You have something to offer and they have something to offer you. It's really about just meeting and connecting. A lot of people like to just meet and connect. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to understand and better learn from you. And then maybe through that, I'm learning that maybe the company has X and Y and Z. So then is struggling with those things. Then maybe I might have a solution for those problems. So you don't know where it's going to go. I never expect anything. And I never, whenever I talk to someone, it's really not because I'm expecting something from that person. It's not. It's more, what can I get to know an amazing person more? How can I expand my network and know more people? And if something comes out of it, great. If nothing, it's still great because I learned something.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. So I was wondering, I'm going to take it back to the goals. And I was wondering if maybe we can, I'm going to tell you one of my goals, unless Olivia, you want to.
No, go for it.
But I'm going to tell you one of my goals, and maybe you can walk me through like your process of like how you'd help me make sure that I achieve this goal. Are you up, Brett?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So one of my goals last year was to write a poetry book. And so that's also on the slate this year since that didn't happen last year. And so maybe we can walk through, how I could do this. And I'm hoping that through this example that, all the people in the audience are able to then apply it to some of their own personal goals.
So first of all, when would you like this poetry book to be written by?
I think ideally like by my birthday in May, but if I do it by the end of the year, I'm okay with that as well.
So that's kind of where I'm going to challenge you a little bit more.
Okay.
So
it's kind of wishy-washy, Cal.
So that's kind of what we do, right? We're like, oh, if I lose this amount of weight, maybe by this time, or oh, if I achieve this goal, okay. Like we're being a little bit gentle with ourselves, and we're giving ourselves a little bit too much room to fail as well, right? It's a balance, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about being gentle, and I'm very gentle with my clients as well. But when we say, well, maybe by this time, or if by this time, then we're really not committing to something. So commit to like something. So if that's May, then let's put that as the end date. Kali will complete her poetry by May. When is your birthday, Kali?
11th.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot, but by May 11, 2021, period. That's a smart goal. It's very specific. It's very measurable. It's very achievable. Well, you're going to have to answer that. Is it achievable? So I'll ask you, do you think that's achievable based on everything that's going on in your life? Do you think that would be achievable for you?
Let's see, it's January. Yes.
So then it's achievable. And really, in reality, it is achievable, right? But you have to look at every aspect of your life. What else is going on? And then is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant to what you really want to do. And it's already been type stamped. So we have a goal. That's your goal. And now what you want to do then is, that's very specific. What are some strategies? And when we say strategies, we're really just listing them. Okay. We're listing all the different ideas. I don't want my clients to stick to anything yet. We really just list them, and then you can decide, okay, here are the actions that really align with me, and here's what I can do. So strategies are adaptable. Actions you take from your strategies. So what are some of the strategies that you've tried before? So we start to explore what are those strategies and why did it not work? Why did it work, etc. And what worked best for you. So Cully, I would say, what are some of those strategies that did work for you?
Oh, this is probably a bad idea. Okay,
No,
so
this is great.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
It's great. Because it's something that you want, but obviously it wasn't successful at the end of last year because a lot of things happen. And so I think this is a great example as to why sometimes people give up on their goals because it didn't plan out, but they're not flexible with their timeline, right? So this is a great example of that.
Yeah.
And thank you for being vulnerable.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't think about
You're being so vulnerable. It's so awesome. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. So I one of the things I had wanted to do was like write 15 minutes a day, and so I think going back to, when we talked about earlier, like depending on like my mood and the weather and all that stuff, that really killed it. Right. So it was like, I felt like 2020, I had a lot of bad days where I was just like, I'm just struggling, right? I'm just trying to get through the day. And the last thing really is to really try to achieve anything. And so I think, it was just, like I said, 15 minutes seemed like it was doable, but at the end of the day, sometimes that wasn't even doable, and so, I mean, I feel like, again, it just seems so silly, right? Because it's like, go chinati, like that's not a lot of time, but for some reason that just never got done. But that was a strategy that didn't work. And so I'm open to, anything.
Mm-hmm. When have you done any writing? It doesn't have to be poetry, and you were able to just really sit down and allow it to flow, and it did work?
Usually in the car, like when I'm driving is when like words will come. And then, when I get to my destination, I usually try to write that all down. When I'm really sad, things come very easily, like just like this like big inflow. And so those are, and so I think when I'm in my rhythm, it comes very, very easily. And then when I'm not in my rhythm, like nothing comes at all.
So probably expecting you to be sad and writing during those times may not be realistic, or having you write and thinking when you're in your car. But what are some things that you could try? I mean, those are things that those are times that has worked for you. Is those moments of just being able to kind of go into your feelings more. So if you're able to have that condition of going into your feelings or having the experience of a drive and coming up with content, what else would that look like as you move forward here? That's something that's a little bit more doable for you.
What do you mean exactly? I think I know what you mean exactly.
So your emotions and things kind of spark a lot of the writing. So how can we create that? How can we create that without like you being like really sad, right? Or in the car, right? Like when you're inspired. So how do we create that in a different context?
I mean, there's certain songs, like songs are really triggering for me because songs are very like poetic to me. And so there's certain songs I don't listen to just because it takes me there like instantly. And so but it's really hard to come out of too. And so I think for me, it's like if I want to get into the certain space, there's certain songs I play that that can help me get there, but I have to find a way to get back out. So that's the hard part.
Oh, yeah. So knowing, so probably something that incorporates, it sounds like incorporates some music that kind of can get you in there, but then a strategy to allow you to get out at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you, as you look at your schedule, you said 15 minutes was hard because it was based on the mood or days like that. Have you taken days? I'm curious, to just like write, like this is my writing day.
I haven't, and I think that's one of the things that I really want to work on this year, because I feel like when I set a time with someone else, right, I typically hold myself to that. But then when I hold my own stuff, it's like if something comes up, I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's just me, right? And so I think it kind of goes back to what you guys had alluded to earlier, and it's like making that time for myself. And so I have not done that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you feel is doable and you're wanting to try?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Or would you like to go back to, I mean, you can still try the 15 minutes, right? A day as well. It's just a matter of like, it sounds like holding yourself accountable to that time and saying, okay, this is really what I'm going to do, is write 15 minutes a day, and that's blocked out and that's time for you. But it has to be something that you know will work, right? You know has worked or will be something that you can do that will work. So whether it's a one day time for you to retreat and write this book, or whether it's 15 minutes every day, what feels right to you to do that?
Probably one day.
Okay. So that will be an action, right? So picking one day. So if you want this to be done, so this book, this poetry book, the length of it, thinking of the length of it, thinking of how much you want it to go, thinking of now, do you just want it written? Or I guess that's the other question is, do you want it written by May 11th, or do you want it like published by May 11th, right? That's very different as well. And so if you want it written, what would you have to do in the previous months to get to there with the one day, as that might work best for you?
Just like consistently write. Yeah, I mean, I think I just have to think about, what kind of poetry and how it's organized, and making sure that I have enough content for each of the topics, or if it's, like whatever order it is, and then making sure I have enough days to actually really do all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So those are different things to kind of think about now that, you're planning out your goal, right? The other is, do I want it published by May 11th? Do I just want it written? Do I just want all my content in place that I'm ready to then publish it in the next year? And then how does that look like for me this month? That means that I have to sit down and write for one day, 5 poetry. I don't know what that looks like, right? But what it looks like for you, like what does that content look like for you? Is it 20 pages you want? Is it 30 pages? I would break it down to then I will write 2 pages. I'll draft 2 pages every week, and I'll have 6 pages every month, and I'll take 4 hours Sunday morning to do it. So really defining and breaking that down, that bigger goal.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you,
I love
Kelly?
That does help me immensely.
And then the other question after that is, who would you need, or what else would you need to support you to achieve this goal?
Mm-hmm. Is that rhetorical or?
No. It's for everyone, right? It's a question.
Okay.
You have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Who do you need to do? Because like you said, I'm going to feel like I'm, in the mood sometimes. And sometimes Olivia might call you and say, Kali, come over, and that's your writing day. So right? So who do you need to help hold you accountable? What are the resources that you also need? So not only people, but also resources.
Right.
Do you need to do research? Do you need to interview people? I don't know, right? But those are what do you need to be successful to do this day retreat or this this stuff?
Got it. Any last thing that I would need, or anybody, working through this example, like any other questions that we should be thinking about?
So I think that the other one is just, what are the obstacles? Going back to some of the things we talked about. So what are then the obstacles that will get in the way? And you already alluded to some of that stuff. Like if friends call you, it's easier for you to say no to your goals and yes to them. But if you got them as your biggest supporter, then they can say, oh, Cully, I know you said you're going to write today, so we're not going to bother you. We're going to allow you, and we're going to cheer you on. We're going to let you write and hold you accountable to that, and even maybe help you with some of the content. They could be a big supporter in that. But really rallying around, but looking also at obstacles, like, right? Well, if I schedule my day to write on the week that I have my kids, for example, that might be more challenging. So looking, what are the obstacles that could get in the way of you achieving this goal?
Yeah. And I think I'd add to that too, Callie, because you said earlier about like you getting in the moment, it's hard for you to get out. I think on those days when you do need to get there, I think like expressing it to whoever, your people are, to say, hey, I'm going to be writing this day and this is where I'm going to go. So like at 12 o'clock, could you call me or schedule lunch or whatever? So then, you get yourself out of it instead of like, or, whatever it is that whatever level it is that you're in, because you're right. I think it's so exhausting when you get yourself there to write those emotions, but that's literally when the magic happens, because you have to get there to write all of those like meaningful, deep thoughts. In order to get out of it, you need people to help you. So I think identifying who those people are and then intentionally scheduling your day so then you do get out of it and you're not stuck there all day or week or month or whatever,
Yeah. And that would definitely address the obstacles. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for being vulnerable. I know
I love that example.
And on the spot, but it sounds like from the comments in the chat that everyone felt that was really valuable to do kind of an exercise of breaking those things down. So
yeah. Thank you so much. And hopefully everybody is able to take some of that. I know that was a like very specific example, but I think for me, like I like to see the way it's applied, and so hopefully everybody's able to take some of that away and really think about their goals and because I think it's sometimes fun to think about goals and set them, and then when you actually have to do the damn work, it's damn hard and sometimes we just give up. And so thank you for really laying it out and using a model to help us with that. Okay, so our last question is I would actually before I do that, somebody did have a question. They said, curious at which point you explore the purpose during the coaching session. Oh wait, I don't know if I quite.
At which point you
explore.
So I don't know if she wants
can you elaborate? I don't know.
So I think if it's, I guess I can just give her some broad answers to this. If you're thinking purpose of the session or purpose or your goal in itself, then usually it's a very beginning, because we're really setting goals. We know with clarity that my client and myself, we know with clarity that we're heading towards a certain purpose, a certain goal. Purpose behind the goals.
Purpose behind your goals.
Behind your goals. I think that can be explored at any point in coaching, especially if you're wondering or not sure what your purpose is behind some of those goals, we may be coaching around that. And we can coach around that throughout from the beginning of why are these goals important to you. So it's really dictated in coaching by my clients. So they dictate what would they like to talk about. After we set goals, after we've designed our relationship, after we got clarity on all those things, really then it's I'll always ask my clients, what would you like to talk about today? What's really speaking to your heart, or part of this goal? How do we break it? Where are we at in terms of where we want to go? So we will probably just coach around some of the purpose within that.
Yeah.
So I hope
And
that
I mean,
answers your
yeah, like as a quick point that I was kind of thinking about is again going back to like what you said earlier about like goals in general, right? Like what's the purpose behind goals is looking at the end of the year, or even like one of my books I use talks about, you know, like when I'm 80 and I look back on my life, what is it that I want to have done, accomplished, achieved, and then, you know, thinking about what I want that to look like and simplifying that to what today. But then, you know, I think you brought a good point of at the end of 2021, what do I want that to look like, you know, and seeing, you know, what's really truly important. And so okay, so I am so curious about question number 4. The number one tip for success. So I think I'm gonna have all of us like share just one of like one tip or one thing that has really made each of us like successful. Are you guys down for that?
I'll go last. I need some time to think.
Yangi, I know you probably have like the zillion things to share.
I know.
But I want to hear like just your top one, like this is the thing that has gotten me, you know, to where I am, which is hard to, it's not just one thing, but.
Yeah, I think it's being the ability to compartmentalize. So I've always been very successful in my life because whether I'm working 2 jobs, I have, you know, things in college or whatever. I had friends, there was partying, there was some of that stuff going on, things like that, or relationships. My ability to break down my goals and compartmentalize and say, I wanted to achieve my bachelor's degree, and being the ability to compartmentalize that and say, so even if my relationships were failing, whether it's friendships, whatever, or I was working 2 jobs, I was very focused. And so I think that for me, my tip for success is really to just know and commit to where you're going to, whatever that is, and don't let all the noise or don't let the different things kind of get in the way of that. So I'd say for me, it's my ability to do that, my ability to say, this is my goal, and I don't allow other distractions to get in the way of that. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think mine would definitely have to be going back, accountability. Like that's a big thing for me, is having people that that I have to answer to, that I have to share with, and you know, that probably is the biggest thing. Because otherwise, honestly, I feel like I'm the least motivated person, unless there's somebody that's holding me to it. And so if it was just me, nothing would ever get done. But that's why I love partnerships. I love like working in teams and things like that, because I feel like it's very hard, you know, it's upsetting to let other people down. And so I would say always have people that accountability partners. Olivia?
So I think for me, it's prioritization. There are so many things that I'm sure we all want to do. But I think for me, being able to do a lot of the things that I've done, whether that's community-based or just my career or my family or personal growth, a lot of it is prioritizing what I want, right? And I think when you have a clear vision of this is what I want to focus on this year, and this is going to be my priority, everything else is then secondary. And if I have time for it, then I will do it. And if it's important for me, I'll do it too. But I will always come back to what is my priority. And so I think, people always ask me like, oh my God, how do you do all these things or find time? And it's like, you just prioritize. Like, I mean, we've all got family, we've all got friends, and we want to, obviously still keep those relationships, but we also want to do things that are important, that matters to us as well. And so I think just being able to prioritize yourself and the work that you do. But then also don't forget that you do need your family and your friends behind you. You need a whole village to support you. And don't forget about the people who kind of help motivate you or help answer some of your questions that you may have, or watch your kids or whatever that may be, in order for you to accomplish your goals. So I think just prioritizing, but also don't forget the people who've helped build you along the way as well. So I think that that's worked really well for me in the last couple of years. I surround myself with people who are super supportive. I've let go. It's been hard because I feel like sometimes the people you let go in order for you to thrive are family members, and it's hard for you to deal with that. But I've learned that through the years, I have done amazing things for myself, and I would not have been able to do that if those people were still a part of my life. So.
And you bring up the greatest point. Make your goals fun and take care of yourself. You will not achieve anything if you are burnt out. Burnt out will happen. And so taking care of yourself, making sure that your goal is fun. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you will lose sight of your goal if it's not fun, if it's not if it's not passion for you, and if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to get burnt out. So it's so important.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Yangi, how do people get connected with you?
Yes. So you can email me. You can find me on Facebook. My business is faithfulconsulting.com. You can go to my website, sign up for my newsletters. You can find me on LinkedIn, Yangi Lor, Facebook, Faithful Consulting, Yangi Lor. You can get in touch with me that way. You can also email me, yangi.lor@faithfulconsulting.com. And I'd love to share even my goal sheet with all of you guys if you're, just struggling with how do I just frame my goal so that it is going to work for me this year. So I'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that goal sheet would really help people. So I think if anyone listening, or even when you go on the playback and you're watching this on the playback, if it's something you're interested in, hopefully it'll kind of help you break down your goals, just like Yangi did with Callie in the example before. Hopefully you can then just send it to them and they can try to see if they can work that out with some of their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys just need someone to talk to or brainstorm, I love connecting with people. So if there's a way I can help you, it's not like you need my business in order for me to help you. There's right. We're brothers and sisters in this. We're human in this. And we need each other. So if there's anything that I can do to help, for sure, it doesn't take me a lot to send you something or to give you a tip or things like that. That's all free.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think more Monk people need to do that, like just announce to the world that I'm here to help, whatever in way, shape, or form that you need me. So awesome. I'm sure our audience members would appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being with us today. I think the conversation was much needed. I know I benefited a lot and with my goal. And so I'm just, I think we talked about so many great things today, just, committing to your goal, thinking about your capacity and resources, and then, going into like the coaches, the mentorship and sponsorships. And so thank you so much for being with us today. and really helping to hopefully drive some change this year to each of us individually. Again, whether you're an organization or we have personal goals, I think that these are great tips and strategies to help us. And so, of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. And so with this, we hope that you'll be able to really make some impactful change and make some headway in your goals. And so thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.